of all, you cannot come if you have not watched my special from beginning to end. You must come to a place of my choosing and a time of my choosing. And thirdly, you must admit that Hannah Gatsby is not funny. I desperately want people to see this movie, but I understand why investors would be nervous. Since nobody will touch it, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will make it available for all of you in 10 American cities, going on sale in the next few days. You will be able to see this movie in its entirety, and you can see what they're trying to obstruct you from seeing. And you can judge for yourself, but you cannot have this conversation and exclude my voice from it. That is only fair. You have to answer the question, am I canceled or not? Then let's go. Thank you very much, and good night.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap. They distort so question as if you war check. Horsemen, forcemen, and they've long been having the course map. It ain't that you can't see, cause you can find it home, it's that you don't want to. You cope by putting the blinders on. I've been trying to find some kind of way, but I've kinda known that y'all would rather whine and latch to nonsense cause your mind is gone. I can't save every person, and politicking is bringing the worst out the very earth. And every perk of living on this turf is being chipped at and nerfed, but I can't sit back and lurk. I've got to hit back, I'm certain it's my purpose. And it's a beautiful thing too. Hold up. Hey, looking at the technological advances. I used to be on dial-up looking for answers. Now what? Underappreciating was candid. And 20 years later, we got computers that hand fit. Used to be playing Sega Genesis with bros. Now I'm gaming with some folks on the other side of the globe. Used to go through a label if you trying to blow. Now people got more options on the table, gotta post. Social media got us connected as ever on every medium. Should be more righteous and clever, but what we seeing is
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Diverge Media. Welcome to the Stories That Matter with Diverge Media. I am the host of the show and the owner of Diverge Media, Greg Staley. Thanks for joining us. In this week's show, we will be talking about a psychologist's view on the mask mandates and their effect on mental health in children. We discussed the chance of Let Him Play outside of the Barclays Center for NBA superstar Kyrie Irving over his decision to not receive a COVID vaccine. The Science Table talks about the benefits of vaccination for children, but none of the benefits in their document titled Behavioral Science Informed Strategies for Increasing COVID-19 Vaccine Uptake in Children and Youth list any benefits for children. Waterford City District in Ireland has state's highest rate of COVID-19 infections, but also has the highest rate of vaccination. We will also be discussing Mayor John Tory of Toronto and how he has been making $100,000 per year from Rogers on top of his $190,000 plus salary for being mayor of one of Canada's largest cities, Toronto. We'll also be discussing 30% of an over 50 hockey league in Newmarket that is entirely vaccinated, getting COVID with one dead, many bedridden. Dave Chappelle refuses to be canceled. And the vaccine booking setup line by the government of Ontario threatens to report people to the police over their vaccination status. Thank you again for joining Diverge Media. Make sure you follow us on Locals, where we know free speech can continue. Click that like button, click the bell notification to get notified of our content. And now, let's start the show. Goodness gracious. Getting rough with the mouse is not liking the move around. But anyways, here we go. So we're going to start with, I'm going to have to go back to what I know, what I'm comfortable with. The mouse is not working for me. Starting things off. Let's get into mask mandates. Mask mandates are going to cause a lot of mental health problems. Now, if you've been following our work, you would have seen this article. Borysenko, I'm probably mispronouncing her name quite a bit, so I apologize. But she does call-ins on her show. We were able to call in, so we're going to read out her response when I asked about the mask mandates and the effect on children. Because as I discussed, not a lot of people are acknowledging potential long-term side effects of the mask mandates. So here we go. She said, quote, "My take on masks, and this has been the same from frankly the very beginning, I was always very opposed to mask mandates in any form. And my take on it is a little bit different in that our mouth is the thing that we use to express ourselves. It's the thing that we use to give value to the world. And if we are covering up our mouth every single day, that is going to inhibit our ability to express ourselves. Now, separately from being a psychologist in real life, I had a childhood where I grew up not being able to express myself. I know what it means to go for years at a time not being able to say what I think. And that had a pretty profound effect on just how I valued myself, my self-esteem, my confidence. And so I think in 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a crisis of mental health of the children that have been forced to wear these masks. I think we're going to see increased depression, increased anxiety. I think we're going to have a lot of issues in terms of self-esteem and confidence. I think we're going to have issues in terms of being able to vocalize their thoughts, vocalize their emotions." She continued on to say, "I think we're going to have issues in terms of them being able to read emotions on other people. I think this is going to be a boon for people who work with kids with autism, because this is what we're talking about with autism, not being able to recognize social cues. It's going to be the same thing, but it's going to be self-inflicted. So I think it's going to cause a lot of mental health problems that people are not talking about." Now, Karlin Borysenko is an American psychologist with an MBA and PhD in psychology who specializes in industrial/organizational psychology. She's also a very popular YouTuber. Check out her work. That was how we were able to ask the question, went on her show. So we're thankful to Karlin for being able to do that. And I think it was important that it got out there. Now, continuing on, we're going to get into the next story here. That is Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie Irving, NBA superstar, has been refused the ability to be able to play with the Brooklyn Nets because of his choice to not be vaccinated with the COVID vaccine. Again, visit the official government sources and go to all those good things because, of course, misinformation. So Kyrie Irving, to the story here, we're going to go. Sports Center reports protesters swarm Nets Arena ahead of home opener. So let me just back out here because I don't think I got the audio. So we're going to pull that up. Sorry, everyone. And we'll just play the video here. So getting scary out there, she says. Crowd just gets pumped, just jumped barricades and are pushing towards door, chanting, "Let Kyrie play." So we're going to play that for everyone here. So as they chanted, "Let Kyrie play," some attempted to push inside the Barclays Center. They were chanting, "Stand with Kyrie." Protesters appeared to and also chanting, "Let Kyrie play." But here we have image of I guess the security team talking about what's going on from their viewpoint.
Because he don't want to get vaccinated. But Kyrie could play if he get vaccinated.
Kyrie is not here in this building.
So why they here? Yo, they wailing. Yo. Oh, you better hold that door. Ooh. No. Oh, shit. Yo, they wailing. What the...
So there you have, there's a man there trying to push his way into the Barclays Center. And here's another one. We'll play a little bit out of it. They're chanting, "No vaccine mandate, stand with Kyrie." Several holding "Stand with Kyrie" signs. This was at the Nets home opener at the Barclays Center. So as you can see, quite the crowd gathered in support of Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie Irving isn't just an NBA player. He is, by all measures, an NBA superstar in his own right, and has very much earned the right to not only start on pretty much any team in the NBA, but is a former All-Star, is my understanding. But over his decision, now he plays for Brooklyn, which has New York has a vaccine mandate, so he is unable to even play at any of the home games there. So the team took it a step further and said until he's going to become, they said, a full participant of the team, meaning get vaccinated so that you can actually play at home, we're not going to even let you play in away games. So Kyrie Irving has by all measures been sidelined for the duration of the entire season. Imagine having an NBA superstar and you sideline him over politics. Well, that is exactly the case with the Brooklyn Nets. As we continue on here, next story, the Ontario Science Table document called Behavioral Science Informed Strategies for Increasing COVID-19 Vaccine Uptake in Children and Youth. Now, here's what I want to point you to when we go down into their document. If I can, of course, when you need to find it, you can never find it. Here we are. Highlight the benefits of vaccines for children and youth. Now, again, I'm reading directly from the Ontario Science Table's own document. Here's what they say. Highlight the benefits to children and youth and those around them. Example, seeing and / protecting grandparents, keeping schools open, seeing friends, and attending recreational activities. They say using a tailored approach. Well, if the tailored approach is seeing and protecting grandparents, keeping schools open, seeing friends, attending recreational activities, let me just say that is not the responsibility of children to feel like this is their job. It is not only unethical for adults to put this kind of burden on children whose job is just to be a child and enjoy life, but it's just completely morally wrong. We're literally saying on top of that, none of this talked about the actual health benefits to children. Now, my opinion, go to the official government resources, but based on the information that I am aware of from the government, influenza is just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, to children under the age of 18, especially under the age of 12, than COVID. So they don't once talk about in this Ontario Science Table document, at least in this section that says highlight the benefits. You would think if we're highlighting the benefits, one of the first ones, if not the first one, would be the health benefits. But instead, what the Ontario Science Table says is we need to highlight the benefits to children and youth and those around them. Things like seeing and protecting their grandparents, not their responsibility. Let me just say that. It is not their responsibility to protect their grandparents. And it is so wrong for our society to put this on the shoulders of children. And on top of that, keeping schools open, again, not the responsibility of children. And we continue, seeing friends, as if this is, hopefully parents have not allowed this to happen in their household, but I know many likely have, of not allowing their kids to see friends and attend recreational activities. Now, we know that they haven't been allowed to do a lot of these things due to government restrictions and actions, which is just completely insane, in my opinion. But here we have the Ontario Science Table talking about this. And here's another one I want to read to you. Use effective risk communication tools tailored to developmental stage to address any specific concerns. They say authentically and proactively work with children, youth, parents, and teachers to address any concerns that may arise. To communicate the robustness of and transparency of Ontario's ongoing monitoring and surveillance of COVID-19 vaccine safety. But here's the one I thought was interesting. Draw upon evidence resources for supporting children and youth who may have concerns about needles, concerns about pain, and tailor the risk communication to varying health literacy and health numeracy. Now, they also talk about doing a targeted kind of, I guess, PR campaign where they talk about how can we promote this? Well, we want other kids to see that it's popular. So have them wear buttons with I did my part, I got vaccinated, and these kind of slogans. And that's in the Ontario Science Table. Again, this is the group, we've covered them in the past, that informs the government of Ontario kind of some of what they should do on the restriction front for COVID. We covered, obviously, David Fistman out of the Ontario Science Table. The Ontario Science Table members have lists of financial disclosures. In the case of David Fistman, I believe he was taking money, or had taken money, rather, honorariums from AstraZeneca, from Pfizer, from the school boards. He was, Toronto Sun covered that. He was taking money there as well. And these are the people that are supposed to be unbiased, that are informing the Ontario government on what the response should be to the COVID situation in Ontario. So that is utterly insane. We have the Ontario Science Table saying, highlight the benefits to children, and not once do they mention health benefits. Continuing on here, we're going to fire these off. We have guests, Chris and Lianne are going to be joining us in a little bit here to just talk about some interesting phone calls that they received. And obviously, if you've seen our thumbnail, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. So we'll get into that in just a minute, but back to it. Now to Ireland. Waterford City District has the state's highest rate of COVID-19 infections, but the county also has the highest rate of vaccination take-up in the Republic. Waterford City has the highest rate of vaccination in the country, with 99% of adults over the age of 18, as registered in the last sentence, who are fully vaccinated. The county has gone from having one of the lowest rates of COVID infection in Ireland to one of the highest. So Longford Town is the second highest rate of infection. Boris in Ossory, Mountlake, they go through this. There's other counties that have high vaccination rates and then started initially low and are starting the trend high. So interesting side note, it's incomplete data. If we're being full disclosure here, we need to look at the hospitalization numbers and see and compare on those fronts. And it would be tough to say, but we also have to know the metrics in which they're using to determine vaccinated versus unvaccinated if we're going to make a true comparison. Now on to Mayor John Tory in Toronto. Now this one, I don't know about other viewers here, but it really rattles me because I don't know about you, but telecom companies, I haven't looked up the data, so I could be completely wrong, but I would assume that internet and it's probably gone up during COVID with people staying home. Maybe internet packages increase, more Zoom meetings, things like this. You need better bandwidth. So I would assume that restrictions and things that force people to be doing more online business would have helped companies like Rogers. Now, that's the preface now. Now we go into the article. Toronto Sun reports, Anthony Furey, Tory made almost 700 grand from Rogers while being mayor of Toronto. Talk about an optics problem. Well, I would disagree with that, Mr. Furey. I would say it's more than an optics problem. It's potentially a giant conflict of interest, especially when we consider, again, did Rogers do better or worse during lockdowns? Did they profit from the fact that more people were at home and likely had to increase packages or maybe upgraded their packages? I would be curious to know the numbers on that. What's the year-over-year growth compared to previous years over the last 20 months for Rogers? We continue on here. We'll skip that part. Well, Tory, here we are. Look, someone said to me, pointing at the pair, the town belongs to Rogers now. The smiling couple was Edward Rogers, chairman of Rogers Communication up until a few days ago. And this was his wife, Suzanne. Their man was now mayor. So I guess Tory worked for Rogers at some point before, and it basically continued into his mayorship. Now, the line was spoken more for theatrical effect. No serious observer believed that the Rogers corporate empire has ever somehow pulled the strings at City Hall. But the recent ousting of Ed Rogers as chairman and the ongoing family drama that's been making its way both to the front pages of newspapers and now to the courts is a shining light on the mayor of Toronto's ongoing connections. The Toronto Sun has confirmed from the mayor's office that Tory, a former president and CEO of both Rogers Communications and Rogers Cable. So he was former president and CEO of Rogers Communications and Rogers Cable, is still currently paid $100,000 per year for his work involving Rogers. Now that's compared to his that's in addition to his current mayoral salary of $192,000 per year. And the relationship has been ongoing since 2014, which means that since becoming mayor, Tory has made nearly $700,000 from his duties connected to Rogers. So Tory's role is an interesting one. He sits on the advisory committee for the Rogers Control Trust. That sounds pretty hands-off, doesn't it? But according to filings made to Industry Canada, how the trust, which owns 90% of Rogers Class A shares, works is that the Control Trust Vice Chair, Melinda Rogers, assists the Control Trust Chair, Ed Rogers, in the performance of his or her duties, and both are accountable to the advisory committee. The chair of the trust that controls the vast majority of Rogers shares is accountable to a committee that includes John Tory. Now, isn't that something? Absolutely unbelievable. This one rattles me beyond belief. I mean, we covered Eileen Davila and her husband, who had he attended a conference, and in that conference, he had listed honorariums and different financial relationships he had, and he included, I believe, Pfizer was included in there, AstraZeneca, and vaccine companies. We reported on that, and nothing happens. And now we got a mayor. Again, we need to preface this with understanding that lockdowns have considerably changed the landscape of work for many places, and a lot of people are doing a lot of online work now. This man has been in power for a long time now, and since 2014, he's been taking $100,000 a year salary from Rogers. Now, that's already a little bit too much for me. But then we get into these last couple of years, and would it be an incentive for him to potentially do things that would benefit Rogers when he's receiving $100,000? I don't know, but from the outside looking in, as Anthony Fury said, it's definitely an optics problem. Now, closing out here right before we bring in our guest, COVID-19 sweeps through the Newmarket Men's Hockey League. 15 sick in Oro Medante, resident dead, and questions remain over how the virus spread. So we continue down here. The over 50 league plays Mondays and Thursdays at the Stellar Drive rink. 4 teams, 8 players play 2 games each evening on 2 modified ice pads. Dunn did not play the first day, but he was on the ice with his buddy, Gary Weston of Oro Medante, who sat beside him in the dressing room. It was a chance to get back to normal, and it felt that way until Sunday when the sore throat and headaches began. On Tuesday, Dunn said Weston tested positive for COVID-19, and on Wednesday, his own results came back positive. Turns out some of the other players have been feeling ill, and several who played on the Monday night were sick too. So they suggested they pull the plug, but they said in some cases players tested negative and later became positive. Some spouses also caught the virus. In other cases, entire families became ill. Because many of the men play in multiple groups, 3 more Newmarket Aurora leagues that play elsewhere in York region shut down as the virus spread. The 5-on-5 leagues for over 35, over 50, and over 60s. People are getting the false impression I'm double vaxxed. Nothing can happen to me. And as we can see in our league, 30% got infected. And unfortunately, Gary took the brunt of it. Most of the guys got through their symptoms without any lingering effects, which is what you hope for in a vaccine. But with Gary, it was unbelievable. It went sideways for him very quickly. Now, this is a line that I thought was interesting. I'm not going to go into detail. Read into it what you will. On October 20th, his daughter, Krista Weston, posted on Facebook, Gary had a severe stroke while fighting the pneumonia caused by COVID. Gary had a severe stroke while fighting the pneumonia caused by COVID. As a family and in respect of his wishes, he will be removed from life support. So here we go. We're going to close out this story, and then we're going to bring in our guest. Whole league completely vaccinated. All got their double shot, completely vaccinated. 30% of them get or test positive. 10 of them completely bedridden, and 1 of them passes away, unfortunately. I hope all is well with his family. But this is the reality, and it was unfortunate that he passed away, but I find it interesting that this is being pitched. We had the vaccine passport pitch that this is going to prevent these type of things from happening. This is going to prevent severe outcomes. This is going to prevent cases and spread. But the reality is we have an example here, completely vaccinated league, 30% of them contract it, 10 get severely bedridden, 1 of them passes away. I'm sorry to his family. I wish them all the best. But this is something that definitely needs to be considered when we're talking about a vaccine passport that, again, you've been sold, in my mind, a false premise, a false hope, not at all the reality of what it's going to shake out to be, as is being evidenced in real life. I can think of other examples off the top of my head, but without further ado, we're going to bring in our guest because we have quite an interesting story in my mind. So we're just going to get them to walk us through it. You may recognize them if you've been longtime viewers because they've been around before. So let's welcome Chris and Lianne. How's it going, guys? You got your mic muted. You got to unmute yourselves.
Hey.
Nailed it. How's it going? Oh, there we go. That one?
You're frozen on us.
Oh, I apologize. Can you at least hear me?
Yeah. We can right now.
Perfect. Well, let's hope the internet holds out here. I'm sorry, but apparently living in Kitchener, being in a city center, you would think I got internet on lockdown. I only pay almost $100 a month for it to consistently lag and just run like garbage. Nothing better than trying to run a news media broadcast on absolute trash internet, and it apparently doesn't matter how much money I spend. Maybe if I replace all the fiber optic cables in the area for everyone else, I might be okay.
Or be friends with Tori.
Yeah, well, he might have some connections, eh? So, Chris, Lianne, I seen your post, Lianne, obviously online. I contacted you about it, but I verified the number myself. I'm gonna pull it up here before I forget. This is from the Ontario Newsroom. This is the government's official site where they release news stories. It says they're launching provincial booking system for COVID-19 vaccines. Then this is the number just for everyone here, and I want to verify it with you, Lianne. But 1-888-999-6488. You received a phone call from this number, and then I want to bring up this article real quick. Still unvaccinated in Ontario expect a call from the government. They literally talk about this here, where they're going to be reaching out to people that are unvaccinated. So this is the number that contacted you. And what was that process? Just walk us through the phone call and how that went. Let's start with Lianne, because you both received a phone call.
We did, yeah. So Chris got a phone call on Wednesday and came home and told me about it and said, like, oh, I got a call. And I called them back and, whatever. He told me what he went through with it. And I'm like, oh, wow, now I really hope that they call me. So when the number came up, it comes up Ontario government. So they've obviously spent a little bit of extra money to make sure that they have caller ID if you're not saved, or if they're not saved in your phone. So it came up and I answer it. I know what to expect somewhat out of the call. Asked me if I was vaccinated. I said, unfortunately, that's none of your business. I'm not interested in these phone calls. Can you remove me from your call list? And he said, oh, sure. Can I get your name and phone number? And I paused for a second and went, you called me. You obviously have my information. You phoned me. So remove me from this list. I don't want to get another phone call from you guys ever. And he said, okay, so you're declining. And I said, yeah, I'm declining. I'm not interested in these solicitation calls from the government. I know how to book a vaccine appointment if I need to. I'm a big girl. I'm not interested in these calls. And he said, okay, that's fine, but I will have to report this to your local police department. And then hung up on me. So I called the local OPP. It's an OPP detachment here. I called them, and the person that I spoke to was not thrilled that I was even calling with this question. I called the non-emergency number, obviously. I was not thrilled that I received this call and this empty threat, and said, we absolutely have nothing to do with it. We have nowhere to put that information. We're not a part of this at all. Just essentially reassured me that no, they're not filling us in if you've gotten the shot or not. We don't have that information. We don't have a database for it.
So to be clear, they called, you didn't disclose anything to them.
Yeah.
And said, I just want to be removed from this list.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said, well, we're going to report it to the police. Like, am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah.
So I'm going to follow this up. This is one of the things I plan on doing, is following up the Ontario government. I fully expect to not get an answer at any time. If I do, it's not going to be prompt, I'm sure. But so yeah, that's kind of an unbelievable thing. So they call you up, you say, listen, I'm not going to disclose that. It's my understanding from speaking with various people is that health information is protected here in Canada, at least it's supposed to be, and take me off the list. And they say, well, okay, that's fine, but we're going to call the police and let them know. So that's kind of wild. So let's walk through your phone call, Chris. Same situation or slightly different?
A little different. So I had actually missed the call. And then I decided, I didn't know what the number was, so I called it back. Excuse me. So yeah, it ended up being this booking hotline for COVID vaccinations. So yeah, I was on hold for, I don't know, 10 minutes while they went through all the menus and all that of, hey, all this great information about COVID. And I'm like, all right, I don't want to hear it. I already know all this stuff. So then I finally get through to this gentleman, and I said, hey, yeah, I would just really appreciate not having these calls. Just take me off your list. Pretty well the exact same thing. And so then he put me on hold again for, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes, somewhere in there. comes back and then goes, okay, you know, what's your name and your phone number, which I didn't think was kind of out of the ordinary because I had phoned him. And then after I gave that information to him, and that's all the information I gave, I said, yeah. He goes, okay, now unfortunately we're going to have to same with her, we're going to have to notify the police in your area as well as the local health unit. And I said, oh, well, okay. I'll have the same conversation with them I'm having with you. I don't care. And yeah, very, very promptly hung up after that. So yeah, me too. I was working out of area, so I was just like, they don't know where I am anyway. But just for informational purposes, I'm going to call a local OPP detachment and see what the case is. And so as soon as I had notified, I guess it was the dispatcher that I was speaking with, she let out some choice words.
I think I read those.
and then tried to reel them back in for being professional, which I really appreciated. Not that I cared, but I appreciated her effort. And then she goes, no, we have nothing to do with that. Yeah, you have nothing to fear from the police coming. And she said, as far as she knew, that wasn't, part of their job to try these strong arm tactics, that was probably just a person that was very enthusiastic about us getting our vaccination.
Well, here's the thing, right? So when I read that, and the reason I contacted, because I immediately went, well, what's the case here? When she told, I thought it was just you initially, Lianne. Then you told, you said it happened to Chris as well. I'm like, what? So you both got the call. Both said they're going to report it to police. Now, did they give you the name of who you were talking to? Maybe it's the same employee, but
I don't even remember what his name was.
So I did ask the man that phoned me. He gave me his name. It was this is so and so from, and I asked him a little further down the conversation, oh, can I get your name again? No, I already gave you my name. So I asked him twice. I'd like your name. You have mine. I'd like to know your name. And he refused to give me his name again. So it very well may have been the same person. Like we live at the same address. Maybe they're going through a list. I'm not sure. I asked and he wouldn't give me his name. So
Trey put this up, and this is what my thought process is too. They said the fact they said to both individuals separately they're being trained to say this. So we may have a rogue employee, and it may be the same person, like you said, it may be working down the list. But the question for the Ontario government, which I'm going to reach out to, is listen, are they being trained? Was this a rogue employee? Is this protocol? Because it's two different people receiving the same, it was different phone calls, but the same message at the end where, hey, we're going to report this to police. They're not saying why. Did they say anything about why they're reporting it? Like, or is it just, so end of the phone call, I'm not interested in giving you that information. Okay, I'm going to report it to police.
Yeah, and it was just very matter of fact. This is what's got to happen. Sorry about your luck, kind of a deal. And I'm just like, yeah, well, I don't really care either way. Sorry about your luck, but yeah, you're not scaring me into doing something I don't want to do. So tough.
Well, maybe the dispatch was right, and it's just somebody very passionate, we'll say, about getting people vaccinated.
Sorry,
I'm
trying to be very nice on your show. I got some other choice words I'd like to use, but
we're trying to stay alive here, so let's not get the channel taken down. I appreciate that. Well, it's unbelievable. Like I honestly, I would say I don't believe it. Like I obviously know you guys, but it's just like these times, it's like you hear stories like this all the time where you're just shaking your head. You're like, come on, really? Like, really? So the question for the Ontario government is this being trained this way, or is this a rogue employee? And if it's a rogue employee, was it the same person that called both of you, or is there multiple rogue employees? Because, I mean, that's not just a little bit of concern. Like, you start telling certain people that you're calling the police, and that's enough for people to get pretty anxious about what might happen. And it just kind of blows my mind that it's multiple phone calls, separate days, and both saying, and you didn't disclose. That's the other part I want to say. And we're still not disclosing on this show. You just said, I'm not interested in disclosing that information to you, this private protected medical information. Okay, that's fine. Give me your name, your number, and I'm calling the police. Like this is wild times. So I'll reach out to the Ontario government. We'll keep you posted on the story. But I wanted to ask, how is everything else in life? How's things been treating you? I guess we'll just go and say that.
Me, I'm not much affected by all of this. I work outdoors. I'm in construction, so my boss, same mindset that I am. His mom is actually very, very well educated, and she's the head of a department at a local university that essentially she's an expert in everything that's going on right now, and she's been locked out of her office. All of her employees have now been fired, and they just can't fire her right now because she's got tenure, and that's what they're attempting to do.
Gotcha.
Because she's totally talking out about all this COVID crap, and they're just strong arming her, and like to the point, when this stuff first started going on, she couldn't get antibody tests that she wanted to have at her lab, very specifically for COVID, for research. So she had gone to another professor that was pretty close with her and said, "Hey, do you mind if you order them? Because you're kind of not associated with this research. I just, it might be easier for you to get it than me. They're kind of watching what I'm doing." Within 1 hour of her putting in this order for this, the Canadian government, I'm not sure which department, but I saw the email personally, essentially sent this professor a cease and desist order stating that, if you carry on with this, we'll strip you of all your funding. And yeah, good luck doing your research. So then she goes, "Okay, well, I can buy, a part of the test here, and then assemble it in my lab."
You know, and work around it.
Yeah, that again was flagged within a couple hours from the federal government. Again, they were, cease and desist. You can't even do that. Not allowed. Don't do it. We don't want any antibody tests around whatsoever. And so yeah, he's gone and taken antibody tests, or a antibody test. Actually, a very I don't know how to describe it. Sorry, I'm not very up on the medical side of it. But it's more in depth of a test than what they offer at like Life Labs. Okay. So he has antibodies to it. He's had COVID. He never knew he had COVID. And he goes, "Well, I guess I don't need this vaccine, right?" So yeah,
no misinformation. Go get both.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Official government resources. Go visit them. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want fact checkers coming onto your show. And
here we'll cover it off. Chris, we got you. We'll cover it off. You ready? I had this made up for just these situations. Boom. Okay. Go to visit the official government resources for more information. There we go. Back to the narrative, or back to the story here. No, just just in case you got
the fact that you have to do that.
Yeah, I got a few actually.
That says it all.
Depending on the situation. I had one for live events for language and stuff like that. But yeah, it tells you crazy times. Go follow us on Locals, okay? We want to do live streams there. Go follow us on Locals so that we don't worry about these things anymore. That would be fantastic. Please.
Sorry, your audio is coming in bad.
Of course it is. It's Kitchener. I can't help it. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's kind of wild, but that's one of those count your blessings things. That sounds like a great situation with
He's lucky.
Workplace. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same. I don't want to say too much, right? You know what I mean? Like maybe somebody's gonna dox me and find out where I work and everything else. But I'm very fortunate. I work for a good Christian family, and I've never once worried about the politics of everything going on. I'm just able to show up, work hard, and that's what they expect, and that's what I try to do. So unfortunate in that way, and sounds like you're in a good situation that way as well.
Oh yeah.
He is. I've lost my career path, which
Sorry
I
to hear
posted.
that.
Yeah, I posted about it a couple months ago. I was on a path to be a lactation consultant, and
I forgot you did tell me a little bit about
yeah,
that. Okay,
yeah.
so walk me
I
through
was
that.
doing volunteer hours to get the prerequisites to be able to enter the program. And the company that I was volunteering with, which is an extension of public health, of our local public health unit, which is what we're not even allowed to call it breastfeeding in this group. It's chest feeding. For anybody who's watching, lactation consultant is someone who works directly with breastfeeding mothers. Yeah, I'm not woke. Breastfeeding mothers, it's what we do.
Chest feeding mothers, you mean?
Overcome.
Chest feeding mothers. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Okay, sorry.
Every
I don't
time I hear that, I just think some poor baby's getting a hairball.
I don't mean to interrupt, but this is news to me. I'm sorry, but that kind of caught me off guard, and I wasn't expecting chest feeding. It just caught me. I'm used to politics and kind of developing in all places of life, but that's news to me. Okay, so you're a chest lactation consultant, or we're trying to be a chest lactation consultant. All right, sorry, I cut you off.
I was just going for lactation consultant, but the organization that I was volunteering with to actually get my certification to be board certified is an extension of public health. So we weren't allowed to call it breastfeeding. We weren't allowed to call ourselves women. It was chest feeders, chest feeding, body feeding. It was ridiculous enough, and I went along with, they wanted you to give your pronouns. And if you told them, I have a daughter, because I do, I have a 14-month-old daughter. Oh, but you can't call her she, because your baby isn't old enough to tell you that they are a she or a he. No, she has a vagina. She's a girl. So I went with that for many, many months. And then the email came in on a Friday at 3 p.m. saying you have until Monday morning at 8 a.m. to get us your religious or medical exemption. We will not allow philosophical exemptions. You have until 8 a.m. Monday morning to get a religious or a medical exemption. Are the comments just blowing up?
Started to, yeah. Keep them coming.
It's a whole, yeah.
You know what? You should contact me.
Birthing person, yeah.
Throw it in writing after. I'll write a story on it. It's going to take me a while to get around to it, working the hours I am right now, but
yeah,
it's definitely, I think it'd be interesting for people. It's news to me.
Yeah. It was.
It's definitely a rabbit hole that sucks you in that you just want to claw back out of.
But it's not that deep. Like, it really isn't that deep. It's just, we're going to erase women. You are now reduced to a chest feeder, a birthing person. You're you're an incubator. I swore I put a censorship thing across my mouth. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I swore before you did.
Yes, I'm getting better.
Throw another one in. May contain foul language.
There we
Your
go.
discretion is advised. There, we got it. We're covered.
So I either way, I was enjoying the knowledge, and outside of the mandatory group meetings that we did every week, I was one-on-oneing with moms who were having issues breastfeeding their babies. And it was all virtual. And then the email came in, again, 3 p.m. on a Friday, saying you have until 8 a.m. on Monday morning to get us your exemption. Medical or religious, that's all we're accepting. Who are you going to go to? Or sorry, it was 4 o'clock. It was definitely late. Who are you going to go to nearing the end of a workday on a Friday? Of a long weekend, because Monday was some holiday. It was the civic holiday. So who are you going to go to? So I emailed back and said, here's my exemption. I'm not interested in getting it. You can't provide to me any information that will show me my child who's breastfeeding still will be safe. I'm not interested. It was a thing. There was a lot more eloquent words to it. And they essentially told me you cannot carry on your position with us anymore. End of story. So I've now lost my career path. I've lost the career that I was gunning for, and I'm baking cookies and selling them.
Are they good? Don't say that too loud. You
They're
know, if you
really
have all
good
the exes-
cookies, though. Everybody needs to buy some.
If you want to plug it, go ahead. So
I
let's
don't want to plug it because I can only really do local stuff, but it's Lianne and Treats on Facebook. They are
Leanne, sorry, one more
specific.
time. You got to slow it down for like you're talking to a third grader.
Leanne Treats.
Okay.
Leanne Lactation Treats on Facebook. It is specific to helping milk production in breastfeeding.
Okay, I
moms.
was going to ask about that because I'm like, what is lactation treats? So I'm guessing you got some ingredients in there that kind of like milk thistle, maybe stuff like that, or.
So I use brewer's yeast, I use chia, I use flax, among other like really tasty cookie ingredients. So you can't really tell that there's stuff in there, but yeah, it's mostly brewer's yeast and then a couple of other things sprinkled in to help with milk production. There is no breast milk in them. I've had that question. That's a weird question. It's not in
just
the
to
milk
clarify.
is for the babies.
Well, so no, that's a really cool idea because I can only speak from my pregnant wife's experience, but in my experience, pregnant women sometimes like a treat. And so, or not pregnant women, new mothers. It's like a comfort food. Let's get this correct, right?
Carbs.
Yeah, right. You want
We
that
want carbs all the time.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Yep.
Lianne Bell's lactation sweet treats.
Treats.
There you go on Facebook. Check it out. So I just want to backtrack here. So how long is the lactation course, and then how long were you in it before you received this email and ultimately had that path derailed for you?
So I need 1,000 hours of volunteer work to actually go through the certification, to go through the test. So there's 3 different pathways that you can take, and I opted for I'm going to do volunteer work because I have certification in one of the prior fields that they ask you to have. I decided, okay, I'm not going to go back into formal school. I'm going to go through volunteering with their approved volunteer group, and that was the group that I was with through public health. They're the only one in this area at all that I could be a part of. So I was just over 800 hours into it. Jeez. Between one-on-one work with mothers and our weekly meetings, just over 800 hours of volunteer work. So I didn't need very money to actually be able to go through and do the test.
So this is like a case of, the old libertarian arguments. You don't need the government to officially tell you you're qualified to do something. You could have theoretically finished it out. But like, how ridiculous is that? 80% of the way completed to being done. Yeah. And then that question pops up. So what did they ask? So he said either you need to provide proof or religious exemption or a medical exemption. And let's just get the time frame right. It was like, you said a Friday night. And then they needed the answer. It was on a long weekend, if you recall correctly. Yeah. About 4 p.m. you got the answer. So like the end of the working day. Yeah. And you needed the answer by when? Was it Monday morning or Tuesday morning?
It probably would have been Tuesday morning, because Monday was a holiday. So it probably would have been Tuesday morning that they were giving you the deadline for. But it would have given me an hour to try and find. To try and just even call my doctor after noon on a Friday is impossible. Yeah. To try and get a medical exemption in essentially an hour on a Friday, because 8 a.m. mine isn't even open yet. So yeah, it wasn't, and I think they did it very purposely. Like you would have to know, sending out an email like that this is, everybody's going to have to comply with it.
Sorry, I'm just reading some.
Yeah, no, I figured. No, so this is, there's so many stories like this, Lianne. Thank you, both of you, for coming on and sharing, because it's so important. There's so many times, like, I'll get people that message me privately and they'll say, well, this is going on, or they'll even put it in like a YouTube comment or a Facebook comment, but they don't want to come on the record because obviously there's a lot that comes with that sometimes, but it's unbelievable. Like, we'll back this up to a broader picture here. I'll give you an example. Work has been putting my mind in a weird frame. So I was putting out papers for baby chicks we have coming in a few weeks, because I work on a chicken farm. And I'm reading the newspapers as I'm ripping them up, putting them down, and I'm reading all the way back to 2020, and they're talking about when they were bringing in like retired nurses and things like that because they needed more staff. And then I flash forward, I'm thinking about today, and I'm like, they're kicking out the people that served through the entire duration, put themselves at risk, and then they said, yeah, but now you're not good enough. They were desperate a year ago, and now they're not good enough. And then we flip to another story like this, and there's so many of these going on, and you're 80% of the way through to being qualified to be a lactation consultant, and then they pull the rug out under you on a long weekend and a working day. Hey, get us your answer. And so, like, really, the only people that are going to be A-okay is the person that goes, here, either has the medical exemption on hand or here's my proof. Pretty much SOL any other way. But I'll say this to the people watching: if you know people that have a story, we want to tell them. I would hope we are a trustworthy source that you can trust to have your story told the way it deserves to be told.
Yeah, we are.
It's the only reason we come on here.
Well, that's good to hear.
We've come to you, and I've gone public about it at this point, so I'm not worried about.
I was going to ask because so do you want to give the scoop on that? I mean, I'll actually pull it up while you're discussing it here, and I'll just remind people of what we're talking about.
So we initially met Diverge Media. Like, if you're a person watching this and you have a story that you want told and you're not sure if Diverge is a trustworthy source, if you're not sure that your story is going to be told properly, I'm well aware we're complete strangers to you. We came to Greg.
Not so much anymore, I don't think.
Not as much anymore. There's some people here. We love you guys.
I appreciate that.
But we met Greg. I'm not even sure how you found me or I found you, but we found each other on Twitter. Actually, it might have been on Facebook.
I think
Facebook.
It might have been a YouTube comment. You put something up, and I do this a lot. Because, like, again, people do it all the time. They'll say, like, some of the most genuine, truthful things going on in their life, but anonymously. Yeah. And I just said, hey, like, I'm so-and-so from Diverge Media. I'm sorry to hear that. That's crazy. Basically, I'd love to tell your story if you'd be willing to talk to us. Here's how you can get in touch with us. And then, and sometimes people actually get back to me. And so that's kind of how this started off.
Yeah. I think that first day that we spoke, we were on the phone for like 2 hours. So I came to Greg. I can say it, right? Like, that's fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I came to Greg after our newborn daughter was PCR swabbed in the hospital.
So just pull this up for everyone. This is the story that we did on Lianne and her daughter Lily.
Picture. I can't even. That's not my child.
But
I
this
can't
was the only
look
picture.
at the picture.
So somebody said to me, "Oh, that's not even real. This isn't even a baby."
Photo.
This was the youngest. Yeah, exactly. It was a free stock photo, but this was the youngest picture of a child getting PCR test that I could find. I don't even think it's a PCR test. It's literally, this just looks like a Q-tip. But that was as close as I could get. It's just newborn baby given COVID test without parental permission, and I call it the hospital visit from hell. So
it was.
Walk us through. I mean, let's start with happy news. How's Lily doing today? Because I know it's better, right?
Yeah, she's so good. We're finally at a point where I think I hear her wheeze once every couple of days for a few seconds, and then it goes away. We spent 14 months. 14 months with her having breathing issues.
So we went through medical, all the stuff that went on at the hospital. Yeah. The one, let's play it here. So this was Elizabeth breathing after the birth. Audio has no background. Yeah, sorry. So obviously you don't hear much.
So our names were changed.
Oh yeah, right.
You're Jack and Diane.
Yeah.
I told a little ditty about Jack and Diane. So
yeah, we initially.
Hey, we're Jack and Diane.
Yeah. Hi, Chris and Lianne, Jack and Diane. So we initially were pursuing legal action against our midwives for a mostly unrelated problem. We had the pregnancy from heaven and the delivery and first week postpartum from home. We were not taking.
I just wanted to respond to a couple. So some of these comments, not only was it without her permission, it was after she said no.
Yeah, after I said test me instead.
Another nurse actually distracted her.
No, it was the pediatrician.
Oh yeah, so somebody distracted her, turned her back, and then a nurse snuck in and went, "Oh, we'll just do it anyway."
Yeah.
So we stayed off the record initially when we came to Diverge. because we were pursuing legal action. And I'm pretty sure I cried on the phone with Greg, or at least cried texting you, letting you know,
I shed a few tears too, so don't feel bad.
It's over. We can't win this. I will suffer from permanent damage for the rest of my life, and I didn't suffer enough according to our legal system to actually pursue any legal action whatsoever. So what I opted for instead was, you know what? Screw all of these people. If I can't sue them, I'm going to tell the world what happened. I will take to my 2,800 followers on Twitter, and I'm going to tell every single one of them that this is what happened. Here's my story. Diverge told it. This is me. Because there were so many parents that I had at least a dozen other parents that came forward, some of them from that same hospital, that said this was done to my child too, without my permission, or had ones messaging me that I spoke to for months, like, my wife is due, or I'm due, and how do we stop this? You know, like, how do we make sure that this doesn't happen to our kids? So that ultimately ended up being my goal, was, you know, obviously focus on raising my child and all of that, but try and stop this from happening to somebody else, because there's never going to be repercussions for the people that did this to us.
Yeah. No, I'll touch on a few of the things. There was that was an emotional phone call. We did talk for quite a while, but where's the doctor that came in? I called it light in the darkness. You talked about you were having a hard time in the hospital. We don't need to go into all the details. Check out the article if you want the full story.
Yeah.
But basically, you're having a hard time in the hospital. Chris, we talked about how, you know, that was a tough spot to be as a dad. You felt pretty helpless in that situation because at the time, to give this a little background, they weren't allowing visitors in the hospital. They give you a real hard time about that. They made you go home when she was staying overnight, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And
that wouldn't happen now. I've learned a lot, and I have a lot less patience. If that were to happen now, it'd be a very different story.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is now that, you know, you guys are willing to speak out, and I do think that's powerful. And I strongly encourage you to continue to do so. I'll try to help put a spotlight now that I know you're public, and maybe we'll send people your way on your situation, what happened, so that you can say, this is what not to do, or what, you know, what happened to us and what to be aware of. But I called it light in the darkness. You talked about one of the nurses that came in, and this is where we broke down on the phone and cried. You said the elderly woman who was in the post-op room next to Diane came to the door of her room. Diane is you, Lianne, her room, just to listen to her daughter cry. It was roughly 50 years earlier that she had given birth to her child, and she just wanted to hear the baby cry. After talking with that sweet older woman for a bit, you asked if you could use the bathroom in her room, because they, if I'm calling it correctly, they wouldn't let you use the bathroom in your room due to COVID protocol. Something happened.
The bathroom was shared. So it was like, my room was here, theirs was here, and there was a bathroom connecting. My hands aren't on camera at all. There was a bathroom connecting.
Come on, over here a little bit.
Just a little, which way? There was a bathroom connecting our rooms.
Sorry, I had to put in a Halloween reference.
Hey,
so there was a bathroom that connected our rooms, and what I didn't know at the time, I didn't know most of the things that I know now until you and I talked, and you said I'd like those hospital records. I had no idea what they were doing. What they were doing was treating my daughter as a COVID patient. So I wasn't allowed to use that shared bathroom because she was being treated as a positive COVID patient. Yeah. So I was 3 days postpartum, probably a TMI, but I had an episiotomy. It was not done properly, and I was in the worst pain of my life. Like, labor pains weren't as bad as what I felt postpartum. And I had to walk 10 minutes to get to the public bathroom in the hospital.
And you were struggling
10 minutes.
Just to give like the crowd, the audience here, you were struggling just to stand up.
Yeah.
And kind of move around at all. And then they were telling you, you can't use the bathroom that's literally in your room.
Yep. No, you have to walk 10 minutes to go to the public washroom, which most of the time was locked anyways. Leave your 3-day-old child in her room by herself for at least 20 minutes. What was a 10-minute walk to you at that time would have been a 20-minute walk to me because of how much pain I was in. So I made friends with the sweet little old lady that was connected to my room who just wanted to hear my baby cry and reminisce about her sons who were much, much older. And we made friends, and she got really emotional about it. And she kept sneaking in and unlocking the door. And the nurses gave her shit for it a couple of times. The nurse was like, you can't let her. And she'd still come in and unlock the door for me so that I could use that bathroom. So that was wonderful.
Yeah, I get emotional just thinking about it because it's your story for me. Like when I remember hearing it, it's such a dichotomy of like the best in humanity and just the absolute worst in humanity. Like, oh, I'm following orders and we have a protocol and it has to be this way, and just ignoring the humanity of it. And then at the same time, that wasn't the only story of that elderly woman going above and beyond. You also talked about a nurse. You said 2 nurses had made a lasting impression, one more than the other. You said you remembered breastfeeding chest feeding and wearing the mask as instructed. It was already difficult enough for a newborn mother to breastfeed for the first time, but not being able to see your baby while doing it added a whole nother dimension of difficulty because you were being instructed to wear a mask, protect your peripherals.
Yeah.
You remember
anytime there was someone in the room.
Yeah. And so you remember a nurse, I said fondly, that came, she refused to enter the room with PPE on.
Yeah.
And she came in and instructed you to remove your mask and told you, you take that off, you take it off, or I'll take it off of you. She then took your baby, picked her up, wrapped her in a blanket, put her in bed, and hugged you. I can't even read it. Sorry. She told Lianne, I can change it now. Okay.
You can.
She hugged her. We don't do enough of this anymore. And I feel like you're scared, and I'm going to try to not make you scared. So, wow. And so for that story, like, I'm sorry that I think we talked about that. I'm sorry you went through it, but I at the time, and I said this and I'll say it again, thank you so much for entrusting me with your story. And it meant a lot to me then. It means a lot now. Like, it's just crazy. Like, to give you a little preface, like, I started this business about 18 months ago now. And when I started, I had no idea, like, some of the stuff I would get to do. And I'm just getting started. Like, this is literally just starting to rubber hit the road. People are actually starting to be willing to talk to me because we got enough of a platform that people can kind of pay attention now, and it gets a little bit of attention. So it may be worth their time. Like, I never thought I would be talking to a president of the Justice Center, talking about the court case updates. Never thought I'd be interviewing politicians. And then at the time, I remember I said to my wife, I said, if it's crazy, they trust me with this story. This is going to lead to more things. I know it. So I take it very seriously that I got to be able to tell your story. And I want so badly, media always puts a spin on it. I don't know if we talked about this, but I said, I just want to tell the story as is without bias. We all have our bias. I'm going to try to chuck mine at the door and just do my best to tell things as they happened. And you guys, I think, Chris, you were a little more apprehensive than Lianne. And rightfully so. I'd be apprehensive about how such a sensitive story was going to be told. But I said it then, and I'll say it again. Like, thank you so much for taking the time to not just share your story with me, but trust that it would be told the right way.
You did it justice. Like, you really did. For me, it was, I needed one person to hear what we went through. And there were things that I said to you that day on the phone that I hadn't even said to him, because at that point, we had barely spoken about it.
It's because I don't know how to deal with my emotions, so my bad.
Well, you know what though? That's the most like traumatic thing I'm sure you went through. Hopefully ever it will be the most traumatic
oh God,
thing.
I hope so.
And so,
so we filed a report, I filed a report against the College of Nurses, against the nurse that swabbed our daughter without consent. Because I did flat out say, you're not going to test her. A baby just died from a PCR test in another country. He was the same age as my daughter. You will not test her. Test me instead if you have to. If I test positive, we'll go from there, but you're not going to test my daughter. So I made it extremely clear. And that same nurse that I had said no to, behind my back, while I was talking to the pediatrician about what the plan was, because we had no idea what was going on. Read the story if you're confused. We didn't really know what was going on. He had gone home to get a bag because we didn't even bring a bag. We had no idea what to expect. She swabbed my daughter, and I reported it. I reported it a year ago. And just now, like 2 weeks ago, I got a phone call from the College of Nurses saying, do you want to pursue this? And for me, like, I'm 14 months away from this. My daughter is 14 and a half months old now. I thought, you know, I'm good with this now. I'm good. I'm healed. She is healed. She will never remember this, thank God. And as soon as I got that phone call, I woke up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, seeing them shove a swab down her nose again, just shaking and upset. And it stuck with me again. It took me a whole nother 2 weeks. And I said to him, like, is this worth it? Because we've been told we can't sue anybody. Now I've been told that my complaint against the midwives, well, you know, they have experience and you're just a person. So we're siding with them because we don't really have anything else to go with. Everything we've gone through has just been ignored. And so to rehash this again, where like I had days where I wasn't sleeping again. And Chris said, this is, in the very least, there's a report there. If somebody else brings a report forward, then there's already a flag on their record. Is it worth it for you? I don't know, but it might be worth it for the next person, which was why I went into it at all. That's why I made the complaint. It's not, I want something personally out of this. I don't. I want to protect the next parents that are going through this.
And just to be clear for everyone here, her daughter, by all accounts.
Oh, your audio's all messed up again.
Oh no, we'll just give it a second. I guess that kitchen connection. Your daughter, for the record, when that PCR test was administered without your permission, kind of behind your back, suffered. I don't know what they did, something with the nasal passage, but she's had ongoing breathing issues since. Yeah. And so
she had sinus drainage problems, was what we were told by the pediatrician.
So I'll just play. This was after we played the earlier clip of her breathing fine, but this was after the PCR swab.
Oh, that's hard to hear.
Yeah, and so it's great to hear that she's doing better, and we're glad. But that was what you sent me initially after. I'm glad you made the report. I know it's not easy to do. And maybe nothing comes of it, Lianne, like if we're being honest and blunt, but like Chris, I think that's exactly what I probably would have said is maybe, you know, somebody else, it means something else to them and they can see that there's a report and God forbid it happens too many times or enough times that they actually finally act on it.
Yeah. Well, they had not acted because they said, oh, there was no previous report. Well, now there is. Maybe now somebody who, you know, down the road this happens to, now they have a stepping stone. They have something where, see, it's already happened before. Why? Now you have something to believe. Now there is, you know, yeah, there's already been that issue.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and I, as a father, it bothers me beyond words. Like beyond what I could describe in words, because I put myself in your shoes when I was talking to you, and I don't know how I would have reacted. And you're in the chaos of it all, but I'm glad that you made the report. I'm glad that you tried and took it to the legal route the best you could. And you know what? At the end of the day, you did everything that was in the playbook to try to help others, and I respect that immensely. And you know, life keeps dealing you curveballs and you guys keep punching back. I love having you guys on. And so we'll make sure to plug it one more time. Lianne's Lactation Treats.
Lianne Bell.
Lianne
It's
Bell.
the same as my Twitter handle.
Well, there you go. So send me the info. I'll actually plug it on the video. Check that out. She's almost qualified to be a chest consultant, a chest lactation consultant.
It.
Okay. I'm just saying this. I got to say what they want me to say.
We all have breasts. There's no reason to change the name.
I don't. Hey, what are you saying?
We all have them. We all do.
So, well, you're 80% qualified to be a lactation consultant. So that knowledge is now being rolled into. So I'm sure some delicious pastries. And so we'll plug that for you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And honestly, the story, again, we'll reshare it I'll probably go back and edit it again and change the names out. But we'll have to meet in person at some point in time.
Yes.
Because you're really not that far away.
No,
In the grand
we're
scheme
like
of
20
things.
minutes from you.
Yeah, I know. So in reality, that needs to happen. It's a little easier without kids, but you know, I got 4 of them to drag around. It makes it a little bit difficult.
We have 1, so we can come to you.
Oh, you don't want to come to this place.
Why
Man,
not? Sure, we
it
do.
is 2-bedroom, so small. I can't stand my place if you can't tell. It's like everything that could go wrong in a rental property has gone wrong in this rental property. And it's like, okay, let's just recap here a quick, like 2-minute breakdown. Water heater burst in the middle of the night one night in our bedroom, soaked the carpet. They did nothing. They didn't replace the carpet. They didn't even replace the whole piping. They replaced the pinhole leak and just like a small piece like this big where it burst. So at some point in time, this is a ticking time bomb, literally probably. Another one, there was water leakage that came down from, I don't know where, but came down to the 2nd floor roof, which is in our living room. You can see it. It cracked all the drywall or the stucco. And rather than repair the floor, get it properly repaired, what they did is they took like plywood, maybe an inch thick wood, and just ran it the length of where it had cracked and just screwed that up to support the floor. They put laminate hardwood. Oh, I'm not even done. We're just getting started.
Okay. I'm a contractor, man. You are hurting my soul.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep hurting your soul. They put laminate hardwood over top of carpet in my girl's bedroom, so it's uneven when you step on it, kind of floats, and I pinched my feetsies in there a few times. It's good stuff.
No.
Well, we're still not done. The bathroom floor, the tile on there needs to be replaced, and the plywood underneath. It leaks. If you get any water on the bathroom floor, it will leak down into the first floor. It leaked into our light fixture, and oh yeah, it puddled into the light fixture and everything. And then we took it down and we have it taped off now because when the landlord came in, he said, "Oh, it's dried out now. It's probably fine." I'm still not done. And it also, that same spot that leaks from the bathroom, if you get any, like, just imagine water splashing out of your shower. We had to get a new shower head because the other one was too strong and it was splashing out. And so it leaks down into right where our cupboard is, which leaks down on our counters where we make our food. And so right on the counters is all our, the drywall above the counters is all like water damaged, and you can see black spotting throughout. And so this is my place. So I would much rather meet you at a park somewhere when it's warm, maybe go tobogganing, get coffee, that kind of thing. I don't invite people over to my house anymore because it is frankly, it's so frustrating. But
oh my God,
I preface all this to say the rent's cheap.
So the landlord, apparently.
Oh man. I don't know how it works in here, but we got in early and we're at like $1,000 a month plus utilities. It's like $1,400 now to rent out the same place. And so we're basically just GoFundMe for Greg's renos. Thanks, Andrew. You know, it's not even my renos to make, but yes. It's honestly, I don't have people over because it's frankly embarrassing. But,
that's awful.
It's cheap.
I'm so sorry that you guys are living in that. Seriously, you need to join the Ontario Tenants Right group on Facebook and figure out how the hell to fix that.
And I can't even numb the pain by having internet videos that run clearly concisely. Oh, goodness gracious. But that, you know, we're already over time. But yeah, no, that's the rundown of our place here. But, you know, I still thank God all the time because I have a roof over my head. I got food in my belly. The kids are taken care of. And, you know, we're saving for a house now. And now the next battle is trying to get a down payment before we get priced out of all of the market here in Ontario. Like,
yeah,
my brother lives in, well, I won't say where, but he lives like 9 hours north. And, he got into a house just under an acre, 180,000. I've been looking in the same area. You could get like, oh yeah, right off the lake, just under an acre, 180. He paid cash after selling his house here. I'm super proud of him. I think that's awesome, and I'm jealous.
So can you text me where that is?
I'll text you offline for sure if you want to know where you want to sell a house in Guelph. You can pay cash up north for sure and get a lot more land than an acre too. But like, it was like 130, 150 grand a couple months ago. probably 2-3 months ago when I started looking. And now they're already, in the last 2-3 months, it's gone up like 10, 15, 20,000 on the same properties. So I'm a year and a half, 2 years out from having the down payment and the situation where I can actually make an offer on a house. And I'm genuinely, I don't know if I'm going to be completely priced out of the Ontario market. I want to stay near family, but it may not be a possibility. And I don't want to have a $300,000-$400,000 mortgage, even if I could get one. Like, I want to keep it, in my mind, like 180 is kind of getting steep, because I want to be able to pay it off in under 10 years. So I'm kind of, I don't know, anal about that. Like, I have to have it that way just because I don't trust the government, believe it or not. And so I want my house paid for.
How could you not?
Get out, right? This guy?
They have our best interests in mind, right?
Yeah, they always care about us. They never do anything that would harm anyone. They never lie. They're the most trustworthy source. You know what? Diverge Media, if you think we're trustworthy, just wait till you hear from the Ontario or Canadian government.
I think we need another warning on the label.
Yeah.
You want safety first. Let's just in case. There we go. Boom. Visit official government resources for more information
on how much they love you.
I hope so. As much as I love them, then we're in trouble. All right, that's a good place to close off. I'll let you guys go here, and then we'll close out the show. But thanks so much for joining us. And
where's my hand? I'm over here waving.
You're doing this thing. It's like off air, and like,
it's like a mirror.
You gotta hit the edit. Yeah, you gotta do the queen wave. You gotta bring it in tight and do the. There you go. All right, thanks everyone, and we'll let Chris and Lianne go. Thanks guys for joining us. That's awesome, and so glad to hear Lily's doing better. And quite frankly, thank you for sharing again and trusting me with that story. Check out the story. We'll bring it up here for everyone. If you want to check out that story after, pull it up. Newborn baby given COVID test without parental permission. The hospital visit from hell. It was a little ditty about Jack and Diane, but it was really about Chris and Lianne. So check that one out. Absolutely insane story, an insane experience that they went through. I'm very thankful for them for telling it. And then again, I guess the government's calling around asking about vaccination status, as the National Post reported they would do. And if you don't tell them what your status is, in the case of Chris and Lianne, there was threats to have the police called. They called the local police departments and both said that isn't their purview. That's not going to happen. But anyways, we're going to follow this story up, look for something in the future. If we get an answer back, we'll let you know. We'll kind of keep you in the loop about what's happening there. Check us out on Locals. Free speech is going to be more important than ever. We are coming into a time, I don't know how much people have been following the news because I know we're news fatigued, but please keep up the battle to be informed. There looks like the Trudeau government is going to come down hard with the censorship bill, cracking down on social media platforms like Facebook, like YouTube. So let's beat that before it happens. Let's get on free speech platforms. Let's do everything we can to be in a position to actually be able to still hear stories that matter. And I'm Greg Staley. We thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for trusting us to tell the stories that matter. And we'll see you next time.